Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Hero Academia Season 5, Episode 15. So, I think it's maybe because of the fact that we didn't have an episode last week, but for some reason I've been putting this off today. Like, I pre-recorded my reaction to Dragon Maid for tomorrow. And I did a couple other things, but most of the time I was just scrolling through the internet and all. For some reason, putting this off, just procrastinating. And I don't fully know why. I mean, I like this series and I like this season so far. So it's not that I'm not enjoying it. The only thing I can think of is that it was because we had a week off. It kind of threw me off and threw off my just overall, like, oh, what would be the word for it? There's a word, and I always hate when that happens. When I have the idea in my head and the word just escapes me. It threw off my groove. It threw off my groove. I was in this groove of, like, episode a week. Let's get to this. Let's get to this. Let's get to this. And then all of a sudden, week off, and it's just like my groove came to a screeching halt, and it completely threw me off. And while we did do stuff last week, the lack of My Hero did still affect things. Nonetheless, we are getting to this. So let's get to it. So last time we had Hawks sending a message to Endeavor regarding the Meta Liberation Army, or whatever they're called. And our you could kind of say our big three of Class A, Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki, are taking an internship at Endeavor's agency in the meanwhile. And we get to meet some of the agency members, some of the sidekicks working for them, and whatnot, and seeing just how hectic and busy the agency for the current #1 hero is. So a lot of the last episode was very much set up. It was setting up for this current arc, and it was doing a lot of prep work. Now, from what I've heard, this arc is pretty short, and it was actually, like, in the manga, it takes place after the next arc. So they actually switched around 2 arcs in the anime for some reason. So technically we're supposed to be getting the next arc right now and this arc after that, but that's not how the anime is doing it, so whatever. We should still be getting both this season, though, from what I've heard, so there is that. But I'm interested to see if this is really short, what's going to happen in it. We got a new opening as well. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself. And the opening is, as you may have seen from my ranking the My Hero Academia openings list, it's my new favorite. While there have been some great openings, there's also been quite a few openings for this series that have just been lacking, in my opinion. And I know, like, my bottom of the list is really unpopular because a lot of people really like Peace Sign, but it's like I just don't. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't. It's not for me. The music, the visuals, the way they connect, it doesn't work for me. But this opening, the current opening, is really good in just pretty much every way. So it's probably going to be another one of those series where we don't end up skipping the opening. We're getting more of those these days. Between this, One Piece, and Dragon Maid, it's like we have multiple series now that we're just not going to be skipping the openings on because they're just that damn good. Owl House too. So it's like, wow, we're getting more of those. And honestly, I like that. I like that these openings are just so damn good that you don't want to skip them. Not all openings are like that. So it's really cool to see when they are. Um, I don't know what to expect with this episode because I don't really know much of anything going forward. I know a couple very small details about the future of this series, but more so like they're still a bit away. I don't think there's stuff from this season. And they're very small things. I don't even know detail like real details about them. I just know very small things. Um, so yeah, it's we'll see. I'm trying to avoid all spoilers. So as always, no spoilers in the comments, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, this is another really good episode, and hopefully, if this arc is really short, like I've heard, I'm hoping that at least we get a lot of good continuous action and just important development and building on these characters. I hope it doesn't like just lag behind with any of this because if this is very short, I want it to really focus heavily on the important stuff. But we'll see. So let's just get this started and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirecting of the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So let's get the I guess you would call it B plot out of the way first. So Hawks is meeting with the Metal Liberation Army, who seems to be working with the League of Villains to some level. He talks to them, finds out more about their plans, seemingly to just complete utter destruction in 4 months. We get a glimpse at who appears to be the guy in the opening, so I assume he's the leader. And we see like all these League of Villains members that we know and love. Himiko is there, Twice is there, Spinner, so on and so forth, Mr. Compress. And we get to see them like keying into what's going on currently, like with Endeavor and the big three of Class A. And we can see kind of the start of their plans, but we also get a bit more of the message that Hawks left for Endeavor, showing that it's more than just, this is happening in 4 months. They have a shit ton of people on their side. We also see that there's a backup plan. There's a contingency for if anything goes wrong. Basically, the idea is if anything goes wrong, if they're not able to stop the Metal Liberation Army's plans here, they have to use these work studies in order to train up the next generation to be able to take their places. So even though Endeavor only wanted to work with Shoto, with his son, he now realizes that he has to work with Deku and Bakugo as well in order to, prepare for what's going to happen. Because even if he thinks that he and the other pros can handle this, you have to have a contingency. You have to be prepared just in case, especially when it comes to something like this. So getting to see Hawks kind of like do his sneaky kind of like working around all of this, it's really interesting to see him gather this information and relay it as a double agent. And so we also kind of get the what I was questioning before. It seems like he is still working with the League of Villains, and it just seems like the League is working with the Meta Liberation Army. It just seems like that's the case. And they were specifically focusing on him talking to the leader of the Meta Liberation Army because of him also being a pro hero and having the connections to relay information like that. So that's what the gist of that was. But let's get into the real meat of the episode. So most of the episode centers around the beginning of this work study. We get to see Endeavor come out and ask the students, most notably Deku and Bakugo, since he doesn't know them as well, what their goals in this work study are. Deku, of course, wants to be able to control his quirk better. He wants to be able to have that control, to be able to use it on his terms without having to worry about it going out of control again. Bakugo wants to know his limits. He wants to know what he can do and what he can't, what he needs to actually improve on to be able to achieve his goal of surpassing the number one hero. And Todoroki speaks up as well, revealing that he's not there to work with his father. He tells Endeavor that he's there to use him, that he wants to accomplish his goals on his own terms, that he wants to work on his powers on his own terms, and that he's using this opportunity, that he's using his father's knowledge and abilities and just overall experience to better himself. And Endeavor realizes that he had thought Todoroki was kind of coming more around to him, but now realizes that he's not. And so he agrees to treat Todoroki in this case not as his son, but as a young hero in training, to treat him equally along with Deku and Bakugo, and not to see him in terms of this work study as, his son and the successor of kind of his will in a way, like he has in the past. So it's cool to see that kind of development and all with him as well. We also get to see in this episode that Endeavor's been working on his quirk a bit, that he's even improving and continuing to develop his own abilities. And seeing as he's the number one hero and he was the number two for so long, it shows that even pros of this caliber still need to improve. And that's definitely going to be something that's going to help these three really get to the point they need to get to within this series. We're seeing just kind of the full force of what can happen here as a pro. We're even seeing how Endeavor has taken inspiration from even Bakugo, utilizing his flames to propel himself forward so that he doesn't lose momentum when making turns and whatnot, allowing him to catch up to villains quicker, and as he puts it, be able to make sure that he protects these people. Because even the slightest second of slowing down can cost someone's life. And I really, really like that, because we're seeing just in the way he's teaching them and the things he's talking to them about how he has developed as a person too. The Endeavor we saw early on in the series, in the first couple seasons, would definitely never be able to teach them like this. He definitely still had this knowledge, of course he did. It's just like Bakugo, Endeavor has always been very knowledgeable, very talented. He knows what he's talking about. He always has. But just like Bakugo, he's had to learn to mellow out a bit. And Bakugo's taking a little longer with it than he is, but still. he's had to mellow out a bit and just become a better person. And so we're seeing that he's actually doing exceptionally well at teaching them. He's understanding what they need to work on, and he's seeing it firsthand and giving them solid advice on how to improve, such as giving Todoroki and Bakugo the same basic homework on controlling your quirks to be able to release them at a moment's notice and control how you use them and the strength of them and everything. It's really cool to see this. And I know there's some people who might complain because people complained about the first arc of this season. I noticed there are a lot of people complaining, oh, it's too slow, it's too boring, nothing's happening. And it's like, you guys just want to see nonstop action and intense stuff and villain stuff? Go watch a different show. This series has always had training arcs, has always had development arcs. In fact, some of that stuff, some of the best content that My Hero Academia has. Development to training, it's always been better than the actual action sequences. And calling it boring, just in my eyes at least, makes absolutely no sense. None of it is boring. It's exciting, it's interesting, it's fun. Seeing these characters develop and how they go through that is amazing. Seeing them implement those developments, seeing them continue to see how they can continue to improve upon that. Like, who cares if not a lot of great action is happening? Who cares if it focuses more on the actual character development and the slower, more kind of progressive stuff, just continuing to progress on and on and on. I think that's better than just constant nonstop action. This season has been amazing so far, and this episode is definitely no different. I mean, sure, I want to see some cool action stuff too. Of course I do. I want to see some good stuff with the villains, especially the likes of Himiko, who's one of my favorites. And I mean favorite characters, not just favorite villain. She is my favorite villain, but I definitely want to see more with these villains and all. I definitely want to see more with this Metal Liberation Army. I want to see them in action. But I also want to see more than that, the characters we have developed and grow. I want to see them just continue to be as interesting as they are, but also become better. These slow parts are the lifeblood of this series, and what makes it one of my favorites. But I mean, if you like shows for different reasons, you're completely entitled to that. You have every right, and it's perfectly valid. You can like a show for whatever reasons you want. I'm just saying this all from my perspective, from what I find valuable about this series. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? What do you get out of it with these characters and their developments and whatnot? Was it a little too slow for you? Did you want a lot more exciting stuff to be happening, or was this your cup of tea like me? Tell me in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.